it's the end of the year. You know what that means. Everybody's going to put out their best and worst list, and I'm going to do a quick one here for you in an episode of the 5's / Quick Takes Hybrid. And here we go. Hey, it's Chris, Redbeard Videos, and I have to tell you, so if I come off as low energy here, and if it seems like I haven't been around in a little bit, the reason is because I'm just having a lot of health issues, honestly, and nobody really knows what's going on, and I'm pretty sure I'll be fine. It's just been a rough patch for the past 2 to 3 months, so that's why my content has been sporadic, and we're going to put an end, we're going to put a bow on the end of this truncated year that saw a lot of bad things happen in my life, but also a lot of very good things happen in my life. So I'm hoping to put a bow on it, wrap it all up, put it in a like a time capsule or something, and go 2025 and forward, because the next year we're going to get back to live streams and all the things that I wanted to do, like launching the Sports Riot and Proctology 101's return, and of course the ascension of the Redbeard Network as a whole. So I just wanted to give you an update on that, because even though there's only like 2,500 of you who have subscribed to my channel, I appreciate all of you, and the majority of you keep coming back, and I appreciate that. So, but we want to grow this bigger and make this bigger. So I'm gonna hope to get on a schedule so we can get this going, but I need to take care of myself first, so hopefully that gets taken care of sooner than later. But for right now, I wanted to put out a list of my top 5 favorite albums, and then my top 5 least favorite albums, or biggest disappointment, let's just say. And these will be quick. That's why this is a quick take / the 5's hybrid, because I'm just going to blow through these, and I'm going to say a word or two on each of these albums and then move on, because I don't want to spend too much time, especially on the things that disappointed me, because honestly, there's been a lot disappointing about this year, but music was not one of them for the most part, except for these 5 to 7 albums. So let's start with the bad news first. Let's do that. But first things first, let me just take a moment out here to please remind you to like and subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel, and please like the video. It pushes us into the algorithm, and it gets us going forward motion. I'm on the forward motion thing. It's on its way. We're picking up subscribers here and there, but I really want to I want to set a goal. I just want to set a goal to get to, I don't know, let's say 10,000. I want to get to 10,000 subscribers by this time next year. So like a full year. Halloween 2025. I'm not asking for much. It's 10,000 people. So share this with your friends, will you? All right, back to the album. Scott Stapp came back, and now Creed will be coming back, and honestly, I needed her less than anything else in the world. So Scott Stapp's Higher Power is massively disappointing just because of its existence. I never liked Scott Stapp to begin with, and that continued in 2024. Nothing More continues its descent into, it's weird because I don't want to get political, but this is a kind of a it's not even a political thing. It's just they became so ambiguously douchey, and then they went on the last album, and then they leaned full into the douchiness on this one. Carnal is just, I really didn't even listen to a whole lot of it, but it's just more of the same from Nothing More, which is sad because they were such a promising young band, in my opinion, when they first came out. Their first 2 albums were pretty tremendous. And then since then, I don't know, they've just dabbed their toe into politics, and I don't agree with it, and that's okay. It's okay, but it's a massive disappointment that they're still making albums. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to go on record and say that I'm the biggest Black Crowes fan on the planet, but Shake Your Moneymaker is one of my favorite albums of that era of the 90s, of the early 90s. And I was hoping for some really high-powered type southern rock, and I just didn't get that from this album. It just seems like, I don't know, kind of old musicians doing old things, and it didn't sound fresh to me at all. So it was a big disappointment. Not a horrendous album, but it was just disappointing. Let's just say that.
She's out there for me. I can see her in my mind. She hit me like 10,000 volts. When I saw her face,
Oh, you want to talk about massive disappointments? Ace Frehley put this crap out, and look, I understand that Steve Brown wrote a lot of it from Trickster, but it's consistent with what I'm hearing about Ace's live shows. Like, I was gonna buy a ticket to see Ace's announced tour that he's gonna be going on in 2025, and the tickets are like $70. And I'm sorry, but I cannot justify dropping $70 on Ace Frehley right now, who's just going through the motions. And if you've watched this channel, you know how much I love Ace Frehley. So not only is this a disappointment, but this is soul crushing. I was expecting something decent out of Ace. Everything he's put out like before this has been at least decent, at least listenable, at least something that I could pick 5 songs out of and go, okay, I like these songs. There was nothing on 10,000 volts that I enjoyed, like nothing. And before we get to the number 1 of this section, honorable mentions, as stated earlier, I'm gonna put Pearl Jam's Dark Matter on this list because I don't need her, and more of the same. I respect Pearl Jam highly for what they have done in their career. This album was a miss for me. And then finally, I put Bon Jovi's Forever in the honorable mentions as a disappointment, only because I was kind of hoping after the surgery and everything that we would hear a little bit more old sounding Bon Jovi as opposed to actually old Bon Jovi, you know what I'm saying? So, but it wasn't terrible, and I give him credit for making the effort, getting the surgery, trying to do things the right way, and being open and honest about it. That's something that the music industry desperately needs, but as far as an album goes, this was a miss for me.
you're floating in. Now I'm up on you. Now we celebrate. Don't hesitate. It's not too late. Getting up on you.
This album, such mixed emotions with this one because I love this band. And I went to see this band's farewell show or farewell tour in New York City this past year, and it was great. It was phenomenal. But there was one thing that I noticed is that Eric Martin's voice, not very good. I mean, he wasn't bad, and he had the luxury of having Nick DiVirgilio singing backup, playing drums for the band now, and the rest of the band still sounds tremendous, and all the harmonies were there, and Eric Martin had support from Nick DiVirgilio, and that was great. But I noticed that Eric Martin's voice was struggling, and that's fine. It's an age thing, and Mr. Big did what they had to cover up that issue and make it palatable for the audience there at the show. However, when I heard several months later that there was a new album coming out, I was muy pistola, like very, very annoyed, because that signaled to me that the farewell tour thing was BS. However, my anger subsided when it appears to me that, yes, it's real, they are retiring, they just wanted to put out this last album, and I guess that's fair. With that, though, my anger turned into disappointment when I heard the album. The songs just aren't that good. And I don't know if it's a Dream Theater situation where we're writing around the singer and we're doing the best that we can, or if Mr. Big has just lost its juice. I'm not really sure, but I really do hope that this is the last album and the last tour for fear of tarnishing their legacy, because every album before this has been pretty tremendous. I mean, they have gotten less and less tremendous since the first run, but they've been good. I can at least go to every single Mr. Big album and pick several songs from each album and go, these are good songs. I like these songs. This one, I had a very, very difficult time finding a song or two that I even enjoyed, let alone put in my regular rotation for listening. This was a major disappointment for me.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
And now time for the party phase. It's holiday season, so we're going to talk about the good, the things that really made me happy. Five Opeth Last Will and Testament is arguably one of the best prog albums I've heard come out in quite some time, and it's nice to hear Opeth return to some form. They didn't go all the way back to Still Life and Watershed and all that Blackwater Park and all that stuff, but they definitely reclaimed some of the death metal edge while maintaining the 70s prog rock thing. It's just a wonderfully written album, and Michael Ockerfeld's vocal performance on this album is top-notch, all-time type of shit, so I highly recommend this one.
Don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate. Where I'm from, I was born right here just now. Originated right in front of your eyes. If you can't see, I am Clancy. Prodigal son done running, come up with Josh done, wanted dead or alive.
21 Pilots returned and corrected the error that was Scaled and Icy with another masterpiece. Not a masterpiece on the level of Trench, because Trench to me is an all-time masterpiece, but Clancy is a very solid record with a lot of danceable stuff, a lot of emotional things, great lyrics, great vocal lines, just good music. 21 Pilots, if you're looking for a bridge between your pop world, if you're not a pop fan, but you like some pop music, and your alt rock or even like hip hop-ish stuff at times, but stuff with a little more edge, I think 21 Pilots is a wonderful bridge for that type of thing.
Tell me something that I don't know. What can I say? I got it all figured out in my head. I'm finna die, I can't complain. But it might get worse or it's better again. I say, oh.
What is there to say about this band anymore? 68 is amongst one of my very favorite bands of the last 5 to 7 years. Yes, and their fourth full-length release, and it's simply wonderful. From cover to cover, this fucking album slaps. It's heavy. It's darker than their stuff before in tone. Lyrically, I don't know. Their lyrics are always kind of the same. But musically, this album is heavier. They brought some very heavy with this and very brooding type of stuff. And if you ever have a chance to see 68 live, which I have championed this band on this channel heavy for the past year, I highly recommend seeing them live and picking up Yes and. Great record.
No one has it today without tomorrow. Pain in the heart has to face it. Our world now turns us into slaves.
Highly Irresponsible by Better Lovers might be one of the best metal albums I've heard in 10 years. I'm not pulling punches on that. This will come up in the honorable mentions. Somebody else said another album is better than this album, and it's unfortunate that this album came out at the same time in the same type of vein of music, but I disagree. I think that Greg Puciato is one of the greatest vocalists I've ever heard, period, and it really shows on this record. The music is heavy and tight, and it's kind of like, to me, when I initially heard it, I heard a slowed down version or a not as technical version as Dillinger Escape Plan. Either way, it's a banger from cover to cover. There's not a bad moment on this record. Better Lovers is worth your time if you're a metal fan. And that brings us to our number one, but before we get to that, there are two honorable mentions that are worth talking about, so let's get to that. Vola, Friend of a Phantom, is a stellar record. Cover to cover, all killer, no filler. There's really not one bad song on here. And the reason why it's on the outside looking in is because the only downside to this record is that it's more of the same. I feel like it's just a continuation of their last record, Witness, which is also in and of itself a phenomenal album. And if this was the first time I heard these sounds by Vola, this would have definitely cracked the top 5, if not the top 3. However, because it's kind of, I don't want to say that it's rehashed, because it's worth listening to in and of itself. It's a standalone album and it's worth listening to. Every song is a great song. Vola has yet to write a bad song, in my opinion. However, it just didn't rise to the level of these other 5 albums that were above it. And then my other honorable mention is not even something that I necessarily like, but I think I'm going to, if that makes sense. And that's Knocked Loose. You won't go before you're supposed to. And the reason why, and I'm going to do a whole ass video about this, and I've teased this on several videos now, but I have an issue with the vocalist.
I dream of a cleansing wave! Rainbow!
And I'm just going to leave it at that. I am a singer myself, and I am a vocalist, and it's the most important part of a band to me. To me, the most important element of a band is their vocals. There's a certain quality in screams that I enjoy over another. And I can just say that Knocked Loose gets grating on me after a while, but I will say that the music is fucking tremendous.
I will cut off your son!
So I'm just working, trying to get past the vocalist, if that makes sense. So, and I'm going to do a whole video on this because there's been a few of these bands now that I've heard or seen live and went, huh, that's interesting. Yikes, what's up with that? So we'll get into that. But I just wanted to mention those two because this was the album that someone in my circle here mentioned was the reason why Better Lovers is not the best album of the year in their eyes, is because of Knocked Loose. So that's why that came up.
Hail, stay blessed and obsessing over small details. Tell my audience again, take a deep inhale. Bitch, let that go. You can't replicate my swagger, ho. You can't put it in a prompter, AI, bro. She's a magnificent original.
And then finally, in a shocker, sort of, I guess, I have done one video on her on this channel. So I've announced my fandom of this particular artist, but I've seen her 4 times live in like the past year and a half. And she put out this album, which I guess is technically, I don't know if it's an EP, if it's an album, I don't know. It's like 7 songs. But it's my favorite release of this entire year. The Alchemist is, there's great hip hop on here. There's tremendous pop sensibilities, great melody lines, amazing lyrics, wonderful lyrics. And when you listen to Queen Herbie, not only are you gonna feel positive as shit, because everything she talks about is about being your best self, being your most evolved self, your elevated self in every single way. And she's all about girl power without being ostracizing to men at all. As a fully cisgendered man approaching my 50s, I love everything she has to say. I never ever feel off-put in her crowds, in her fandom, in her realm, in her whole world. So if you're looking for like stuff that's like got bad bitch energy, wonderful melodies, great beats, and also has an edge to it with some hip-hop and some rap, Queen Herbie, The Alchemist, is a wonderful place to start. And that does it. Those are my favorite and least favorite, or those are my favorite and most disappointing records of 2024. What were yours? Please leave them in the comments and let me know. Also, follow my social media places as they... And until next time, thank you so much for being here with me, as I so much enjoy being here with you. And we will talk to you then. Bye.
It's a